Hi, and today I'm going to talk to you about how we can use Office 365 sites to add starters and plenaries to our lessons. Now obviously we all know how important starters and plenaries are, but sometimes it's quite difficult to get them all going. Office 365 is perfect for this, for several reasons, and I'm just going to talk you through 3 apps that I use all the time for starters and plenaries and why they're useful to me. So the first app is possibly an obvious one, which is Survey, and I use this quite a lot for plenaries. So for example, I'll put 5 questions up about the content we've covered that lesson and say, can you tell me the answer to these 5 questions? I can do it anonymously, or I can find out what each student said. Sometimes it's great to know what students have put because I can see who's struggling and who's doing well. Or if I do it anonymously, it will just give me information like 80% of the class got this right, 20% of the class got this right, and then obviously I know that that's something I need to cover in the next lesson because not enough people have got it right. Very quick to set up. I don't need to put a huge amount of questions in there, and it takes 5 minutes for them to do that and for me to instantly get that feedback. Whereas actually, if I was going through their book every lesson to do that, that would take a lot longer. So obviously it's not a replacement for marking, but it is a brilliant way to very quickly get some feedback on the progress they made during that lesson. Something I use for starters is discussion board here. I add a discussion board quite often, and it's just one that I actually added and then quite often delete again just to keep the place tidy. But for example, in maths, if I was teaching a lesson on 2D shapes and properties of 2D shapes, I'd stick a discussion board up, and for the first 5 minutes of the lesson, I'd get students to have a discussion about all the things they already know about 2D shapes. The benefit of this for me is, one, it's getting them engaged in that lesson and really thinking about what that lesson is going to be about, and recalling their prior knowledge obviously. Secondly, it's showing me at what point I need to start teaching it. So if it's a class I've never taught before, it's going to tell me what they already know, so therefore I know if I need to start quite basic or if I can start quite complicated. The final app, although there are loads that we can talk about, the final app is Document Library. And again, I quite often use this as a sort of 10-minute plenary if it's been a couple of lessons, just to make sure that they really get the idea of what's gone on. And it's as simple as I'll stick that in and say, okay, you have 10 minutes to put together a PowerPoint giving me the 5 key facts that you've learned over the last 2-3 lessons. And they'll just do a slide per key thing that they've learned, and they can then either present that to me or I can look through it in my own time. But either way, it gives me some idea in 10 minutes, these are the things that they think are the most important that they've learned. And again, it's going to show me what progress they've made from the beginning of that topic to the end. And those are 3 brilliant apps to use for starters and plenaries using Office 365.